Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I have here Mr. Ben Winter, and he is an author. From what I read, he does improv. We kind of joked about that a little bit before the show, so I told him I hope he's better than Michael Scott. Hey, man, you stay busy. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from, social security number, all that good stuff, bank account numbers, and then you can get on to let's talk about what you do. So let's get to know you first.
Well, the important things are the bank account numbers. So,
That's
1,
right.
2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Let's see. So, I live in Denver, Colorado, and I don't like not being busy. But at the same time, sometimes it's just part of being busy is just having fun. So part of my life is doing improv and acting, and I just get to play. As kids, that's all kids do. They improvise, they act, they make stuff up. They're just very creative and imaginative. And fortunately for me, I get to do that on a regular basis. So it's a lot of fun. And in doing some of the improv, I also teach it and teach others how to use it for everyday life. And that's where some of the books came from that I've written is just from producing that material. So
maybe you could even teach me. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could always improvise.
That's right. I never know what's happening. I just improvise everything.
The dad jokes never stop around here, by the way.
Hey, that's all right by me. So improv, I think the best way people can look at improv is that's all we do every moment of every day of our lives. We don't have a script. We don't know who we're going to come in contact with. And even if we did have a script, there's no way everybody would stay on script. And it would be kind of boring knowing what your day is going to look like. So improv is just kind of how we live. And the thing that I didn't know when I first took an improv class was that there are rules to improv. I thought you just had to be smart and brilliant and funny, and you had to think faster than everyone else to do improv. And it's kind of the opposite. You have to kind of turn off your brain, and then improv just works that much better. Because, too often I think people are just thinking too much about the future, or they're lamenting the past or anything like that, and they're not living in the present moment. And that causes a lot of problems. And so one of the things with improv is you have to be present, focused here and now, thinking about what's in front of you and paying attention to the person you're talking to. Otherwise, it just doesn't work very well. And if you want to take that into relationships, into like marriage with your kids, with your neighbors, like whatever, if you think of a relationship, it just works better when you're sitting there having a conversation, paying attention to them. And it doesn't work well when you're sitting there on your phone trying to talk with them at the same time, because you're like, what, yep, oh, no, I agree. You're like, I didn't ask you a question, right? So it gets really kind of crazy and stupid. So I like to teach the rules of improv. The ones that apply to stage improv apply to our life as well. So that's kind of the big piece that I like to instill on people. Learn improv, not necessarily to get on stage, but just to have a more fulfilling life.
Just to kind of be in the now. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because I find myself all the time when I should be out enjoying what I'm doing, I'm either thinking about stuff that I've, either screwed up or I should have done, or I'm thinking about what I need to get done and not where I am at, not paying attention to my surroundings. And, I know it drives my wife nuts, and it's hard for me to relax, because I've always got these things I'm worried about, and not really taking in the people that I'm with and the scenery, which is why, when I started doing podcasting, my wife bought me this book. The book says you need to write down all these questions so you'll be prepared. So I did that. And when I did, I noticed that I was waiting for that pause from whoever I was talking to so I could ask the next question. And I totally missed what they just said. So I threw that out the window. It's like, it's better you sit here and have to listen to them and then come up with questions off the top of your head than just to totally miss the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between being prepared and then being hyper focused on something that's not happening at the time. So,
True.
you know, a lot of times when I'm getting interviewed, people are like, "Do you want questions beforehand or as we're going?" And I'm like, "I want it as we're going. Like, I want it to seem as natural as possible, because the question might change based on a response that I provide, and that's how it should be. That's how a conversation goes. One of the things that is taught in improv on stage is you have to pay attention to what the other actors are doing, because if they go in this direction and you're thinking about that direction and like, what could I do if it goes in this direction, and I could think about, oh, what did you just say? And they just went a completely different direction. Now you're lost. They have to recover for you and you have to recover, and it sucks. It's painful. Whereas if you're just present and focused and listening to them, then you can respond accordingly and very easily and play with it. You know, how you kind of said something where you're not able to relax. And I think about those people who are like, I love going to backyard barbecues and we don't do it enough, except they were just at one yesterday and you were thinking about all the things that you needed to do at home when you were there. It's like, did you not enjoy it while you were there? And that's the kind of thing, you know, if we're not enjoying what we want to be doing when we're doing it, then we're always going to be thinking about the next time that we're going to be doing it.
That's right.
And again, you're going to be doing that, thinking about something else. So you're never really going to get fulfilled every time that you go and do these things. So being in the moment is so huge, so huge. So many great authors have written about it. Like Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now is huge in that realm. So
yeah, I think also when my children were you know, just learning to walk and talk, I was so focused on other things that I actually missed those moments. And I've found now that with my grandkids, because I regretted not being in the now with my own children, I'm more focused on my grandkids when I'm with them. I want to, you know, hear that first time they say "pawpaw," or, you know, they hit a home run at the baseball game or whatever the case may be. So phone's down. If they walk in, I'm watching TV, I'll either pause it, turn it off, pay attention to what they're doing. We need to get back to that. We've lost that human connection.
agreed. And it's so much easier to lose that connection because we have our phones, we have computers, we have TV. We have so many ways to distract ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the best show on the planet is the person we're talking to right in front of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get into your mind's always got to be occupied, and I find myself doing this myself, is if I don't have something I'm totally focused on right at that moment, I'm picking up my phone and I'm doing something on that stupid phone. It's annoying. It really is. I actually, like, if we'll go out somewhere, we're going out on, let's say, a date or something, my wife and I, and she says, oh, did you bring your phone? Like, nope. Do you want me to turn around and go back and get it? Nope. Forget it. If I go get it, I'm going to be on it. So I'm just going to forget it. And, you know, we got to go to Uvalde, Texas, here, I guess it was about a month ago. And the area that we were at, Camp Wood, terrible cell service, Wi-Fi sucked. It was the best time I ever had.
That's awesome. Yeah, we gotta turn it off more and just be present. You know, one of the things that I think about is, I meet people and they have music on all the time, just constantly. They have music on in the background. They have music on in the car. They have, like, music is always on. And in all the personal growth work that I've done, what I've learned is that that's a distraction from listening to our internal thoughts and everything that's going on. Because if we're listening to music, we can't hear that inner voice that's talking to us. And, you know, sometimes it's saying bad things, sometimes it's saying good things. It just depends on what's going on. so when I drive, I don't really have anything going on because I actually get to listen to my internal dialogue, and that's where I come up with great ideas. And I think about problems that I want to solve. Like right now, I'm working on my first sci-fi fiction novel.
Ooh.
I'm writing that, and it wasn't, the idea came to me while I was driving down the road. I didn't have music on, and it was like, oh, that's a great idea. I could do that because I put it out there that I want to do this thing. Um, and it took 6 months for everything to just sort of like come together. But had I been listening to music or talking to somebody on the phone, that very moment in time may have passed right by me, and I would maybe wouldn't have gotten that moment of inspiration. So I think a lot of times putting down the distractions and just sitting. I mean, how many people tell you do meditation, meditate, have quiet time? That's what it's for, is to listen to those moments of inspiration, that intuition, those internal thoughts that actually provide us what we want or what we say we want. If you want to come up with the next $1 million idea, well, you got to shut off all the distractions so you can listen to whatever comes to you,
Right.
to those moments of inspiration, because maybe it's the 10th moment of inspiration that'll get you that $1 million idea. But if you just kind of shut out every thought that comes in because you don't like that little voice that says you're not good enough, well, shut that one down and just listen to the better ones that are giving you the ideas. So yeah, let's put the distractions down, all of them.
That's another problem, is that little voice that's always telling you, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, because we're so geared for comfort. We can't stand that any bit of discomfort. That's why I think that voice is always telling you, don't do that. You're gonna fail, and you're gonna look stupid, or you're gonna get hurt. How do we shut that off? That's the question.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I talk about in my most recent book, which is called What to Expect When Having Expectations, is those thoughts that we have come from our past that say that we're not good enough, or that we're not lovable, or we can't have friends because they always betray us, or whatever the voice is. We have something back there saying like, you can't have this. And it was put in place for a reason. Like, if for me, I had a bunch of friends when I was a kid that turned on me. And so it was easier for me to not become friends with people so that I wouldn't get hurt again. And so as an adult, when I want to have friends, I have to actually consciously set that voice aside, saying your friend, the friends you're trying to make are going to betray you, so don't do it. And I actually have to put that voice on the back burner and say, no, I'm going to go ahead and hang out with this person. I'm going to go ahead and build that relationship and create a friendship and do things with this person, because this is an adult and those were kids, and it's a different situation, and not everybody on the planet is going to turn on their friends. It's just not a thing. So I have to constantly remind myself consciously that subconscious thought no longer serves me. And, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter. It sits in the corner. It's never going to go away. It's just going to get quiet. While this other voice that says friends are awesome, friends are fun, friends, provide great entertainment and support. So let's have friends. We don't have to have a lot of friends, but let's keep those friends that we have. And so really it's that conscious effort of building those new voices that gets the other voices to go away. But if we don't recognize that we have them, we can't do something about it. So if we don't recognize that there's this voice saying you shouldn't have friends because they're mean and they're horrible people, but it's still your subconscious, so it still runs your life. If you're not aware that voice is there, you can't set a new voice in its place. You can't consciously say, shut up. You're no longer serving me. I want this new thing. So, and ultimately what personal growth is, and any self-help book that's out there, it's all about awareness training. You have to become aware of where you are now before you can do anything about it going forward. So
I need that embedded in my brain, I believe.
And it's a practice. It takes time. And even just reminding yourself that, hey, I want something slightly different today. I just want something different today. I want something better today. Just starting there is going to start that path of like, oh yeah, I have a choice here. I can say something different out loud than what my subconscious is saying.
We have to also be able to reward ourselves at times and to allow ourselves to be happy. That's been one of my biggest downfalls as well. Is I never think I deserve to be happy. I'm the screw up. Everybody else is perfect, and I'm the one that sucks. And although I'm not as bad as I used to be, I still have those moments. I'm just not as good as they are. I'm screwing up. Now, we'll say at least I'm putting the blame on myself and not blaming other people for my downfalls, because ultimately it is my fault. But how do I get into that mindset? How do I get away from always putting myself down and being my own worst enemy?
And I think a lot of that, it comes down to recognizing where that comes from. Like, was it your parents that kind of put that thought in of like, and maybe you have siblings, and or like, why can't you be more like your brother? You're not as good as your sister. Or, we have to kind of look back at how we were raised, because that there's so many answers back then. And it could have been family, it could have been friends, it could have been school, it could have been a teacher, there's so many things that influence us when we're kids, that what we think about ourselves now as adults may have really only happened when we were 7 years old, 8 years old, and we just decided at that point in our lives, yeah, I suck, I'm not fun, nobody likes me, or whatever it is. Like, for me, I was in elementary school when my two best friends decided to beat me up after school one day. It's like, well, I don't know what I did to provoke that. And looking back as an adult, I did nothing. It had nothing to do with me, and everything to do with one of the guy's situations. Like, I think his parents were getting divorced, and I went to his birthday party, and his mom probably paid a little bit more attention to me because I was a picky eater and she didn't want me to be hungry. Like, it was so stupid that now I can say, well, it had nothing to do with the friend. It had to do with the friend lashing out at me because I was the easy target for the stuff that was going on in his life. So it had nothing to do with me. And I think a lot of times we can look back and say, yeah, my parents said certain things to me that they probably didn't mean the way that they said it. So maybe it was they were frustrated because they didn't have the money they wanted for their family, or they didn't think they were good parents, so they were taking it out on the kids. Or we can reframe it and look at it a little bit differently, so that when it comes up as an adult, we can stop ourselves and say, okay, that thought comes from my past, it doesn't serve me anymore. I am a fun person, I do have fun, I do like being around people, they like me being around, so I can shut that voice up for a little bit and just enjoy the moment. And again, that goes back to the whole improv, enjoy the moment. If you're here and now paying attention to the person talking to you, or the situation that you're in, and you're not thinking about the past or the future, that voice has no platform to stand on, because you are here and now. So it kind of sits off on the peripheral. And if you just enjoy the moment with the person you're with, you're having the best life. That's just how it works.
Well, that's the trick, is being in the here and now. So many of us that we worry, I've always been a worrywart, whether it be, the next bill that needs to get paid, or, did I not, put out the garbage, just, it could be the smallest thing, it could be the biggest thing. But my mind's always, what didn't I do right, and what do I need to do later? It's such a I don't know how to describe it. It's just one of those things that just bombards me all the time. I want to be able to enjoy the here and now, and even though I can do it with my grandkids, why can't I do it all the time?
Well, and that's one of those pieces where it has become a habit to worry. Just like waking up, like if you set an alarm every day at 7 a.m. and you get up every day at 7 a.m., eventually you will not need that alarm, because your body will just know it's 7 a.m., it's time to get up. If you have coffee every morning, then your body wants coffee every morning. It becomes a habit. So if you've spent 20 years worrying about the future, that's not an easy habit to change. But the best way to change it is to start a new habit consciously for a period of time until it becomes habit. So living in the present, living in the now, if we've not done that, if we're not used to it, then it takes a lot more effort to create a new habit of living in the present. You know, you were talking about bills and paying bills in the future. When I first started being an entrepreneur, every month, like with a week or 2 days or 5 days, whatever it was, it'd be like, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to pay rent? Oh my God. Freaking out about rent, as opposed to paying attention to what can I do to bring in the income or change my marketing or whatever it might be. And after years of rent always just coming in when I needed it, I stopped worrying. I was like, dude, every month it just happens. So why am I worried about it anymore? So I had to consciously choose not to freak out about rent. And for a very long time, I was finally able to just not think about it. Like, I knew that I had to take care of it, but I didn't worry about how I was going to take care of it because it always just took care of itself. And it's finally reached the point where I'm like, I've got enough saved up where I don't have to think about it for months if I didn't want to. Like, it's already just going to be taken care of, which is a very freeing feeling. So anybody out there, just save money, because it feels a lot better than not saving money. But still, it was like I had to consciously create this new habit of not thinking about rent and where it's going to come from and freaking out about it. So anything we want different in life, if we haven't been doing it, it's going to take effort to create that new habit. And that's where we just have to give ourselves the compassion, the latitude to do it, the permission to do it. And we're not going to be perfect out of the gate. We're going to fail one day, and then we have to get back up and start again. I'm sure this happens in like Alcoholics Anonymous is, you don't just stop one day and not fall off the wagon. I'm sure people fall off the wagon and start again and fall off the wagon and start again. But eventually they create the habit long enough that they stay off, and then they get their 1-year pin, their 10-year pin, and their 20-year pin. And I guarantee you at 10, 20 years, it's a lot easier for them to say no to a drink than at 10, 20 days.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm not there. I'm grateful that I don't have to be there, but I've witnessed enough of people working through addiction that's exactly what happens. And it's anything that we're addicted to. If we're addicted to worry, if we're addicted to fear, if we're addicted to letting ourselves down, I mean, those are all chemical addictions. It all spawns something in our brain when it happens. We have to do the same effort that an alcoholic would have to do to get away from alcohol. We have to consciously choose something different every day until it becomes our new habit.
It's like worry is our comfort zone.
After a while, it is, because we crave the chemicals that our body produces when we worry. So if we're always worrying, we always have those chemicals and we become addicted to them. And it's weird to think of it that way, but our body is just a big chemistry system, and it creates things based on what we're doing at the time. You smile and it creates new chemicals. So you'll see people walking around who are just always smiling because it's sort of reached a point where they can't not smile. Their muscles and their face and everything have changed to where it's very easy for them to smile, but it also creates a chemical addiction for them to smile. Same thing with frowning. You see the people with resting bitchy face, right? they've had their face in a scowl for so long, it's just the norm for them now. And for them to want something different, they have to consciously think about it. So, whether it's something that you can actually hold in your hand that you're addicted to versus a thought that you hold in your head, at the end of the day, it's not that much different.
Yeah, that makes sense. But somebody told me one time, I think it's like 85% of the things that you worry about don't even come true. And I'm like,
at least that much.
And I'm like, well, see, worrying does do something then. It causes stuff not to happen.
Yeah, well, I would argue that the other 15% are so convinced that it will happen that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So,
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to the greats like Napoleon Hill and personal growth, and it's like to think is to create. If you think about something bad happening long enough, it will happen. And same thing with good things. You think about a good thing happening long enough and it will. So
Yeah.
Works both ways.
You got to have that faith and hope that something good's going to happen. If you're always doom and gloom, then sure enough, you manifest what you believe. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
So when you're thinking positively, then good things are going to come your way. When you're thinking negative, then yeah, of course, negative things are going to come your way, which is why I'm trying to get out of that habit of always thinking negatively. I do every day, try to be, number one, thankful, because gratitude does change your attitude. And, those positive affirmations, because as soon as I don't see, say, the numbers going up, then I get, oh man, I'm failing again, instead of, well, you know what? It's better than what it was before. So the numbers are getting better. So be happy, be thankful that you got that. You're a lot farther along than you were, a year ago. Okay. So you started applying these things to your life. What made you decide? What was that one factor in your life that you said, you know what, I need to pass this on to other people?
So I had been doing improv for probably a decade and had been kind of running a business and was getting a divorce. And I started to kind of do a lot of meditation. So, kind of listening to the internal thoughts in a different level. And in July of 2015, it sort of just hit this moment of inspiration of, hey, you could teach improv to people, to corporations, to groups of people, so that they have a better experience with life. Because improv has been so great for me. I've found self-confidence by doing improv. The people that I do improv with have become friends. There's a level of trust with them that I don't have with anybody else. And I started to really just examine, like, does improv apply to life? And it absolutely 100% does. And so it was that moment in time, through inspiration, that just sort of, bam, here you go. Here's what you need to teach the world. And it sort of just continued growing from there. It started with my first book, it's called Living Unscripted. And I talk about the rules of improv and how they apply to life. And then I started teaching improv. And that's when I kept coming up with this kind of idea that the only reason anybody gets upset is because an expectation hasn't been met. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't solve any problems.
Sure.
But now I want to solve it for myself, because I get upset. I'm a human being. So I sat down with it and I was like, all right, how do I solve this? If for nobody else, for myself. And then I was like, well, other people like this. And I shared the idea with other people, and they're like, that's brilliant. And so it's like, okay, well, there's even more depth here than I thought. So let me write a book about it. And I just love sharing this information with people, because if I can help somebody be upset less in their life, then it was totally worth it. I've gone and taken myself from being upset in traffic the entire commute that I have to maybe 10 seconds at a time. And then reminding myself that it's completely worthless to get upset during traffic, because I can't get out of the car and go talk to people and make sure that we're on the same page. And I certainly can't do it with a million people at the same time. And, we're all in traffic together. So where the real problem occurs, it's not right in front of me. It probably happened 10 minutes ago. So, again, if I can help somebody find peace just a little bit more in their life, then all of this is worth it.
Yeah. But I guess you could look at it this way too. It's kind of a positive affirmation for you when you're teaching. And it's also kind of a therapy for yourself as well. It kind of reinforces those beliefs. When you pass that knowledge on to somebody else and you see it working in their lives, then I don't know, it's almost like a validation that, yeah, these things work.
Absolutely. I mean, the people who teach something always learn something while they're teaching. And so, and I agree with you 100%. When I share this information, it's almost like me reaffirming that information and that belief within myself. So ultimately I get to be happy more often, because I'm sharing the message. I'm practicing being in the now when I'm doing an interview session. Because if I were to think about what I have to do this afternoon while you and I are talking, I'm going to miss your question. I'm going to sound like an idiot, and people are going to be like, "Who is this guy?" And like, you'll be like, "Well, that's an interview out the window. I'm not going to publish that one, right?" So I have to be present, which means I get to practice being present. So absolutely, to your point, 100%, I get a lot out of doing these, for sure.
Now, this might be a goofy example, but one day I was helping my kids with math, and we got to doing the multiplication tables. And then I was like, do you realize that no matter what you multiply 9 times, that when you add those two numbers together, that like if it's 9 times 3 is 27, you add the 2 and the 7, it's going to be a 9. Or 9 times 2 is 18, the 1 and the 8, it equals 9. Everyone except for when you multiply times 0. That's the only one. Every other one that you do, I don't care how big the number is. So I thought that was so magical. And I had to validate that by saying, "Hey, y'all try it." And they kept doing it. And I thought, oh, wow, man, I've learned a new trick.
That's awesome.
Hey, it's goofy, but it's fun, you know?
Absolutely.
You got to have fun in life.
I wholeheartedly agree. I definitely like to have more fun.
I mean, there's a time to be serious and there's a time to have fun. And my biggest problem is allowing myself to have that fun. Even when I start getting happy, something in my mind's always telling me that I don't deserve that happiness. And so I get all depressed again. I could be on a road trip going, to like when we went to Tennessee, all excited, but for some reason I would find something to tell me I didn't deserve it. Now it's to get those positive affirmations to say, yes, you do deserve it.
And you know what? I was talking about like not listening to music so you can listen to the internal thoughts. Sometimes when you're having those negative thoughts and music really speaks to your soul and makes you happy, you're not having any fun. Blare that music. So it just like doesn't have any power anymore. It's like, I don't hear you saying I'm not having fun because now I'm dancing in my car on this road trip. So suck it.
Hey,
so there's a time and place for things. Absolutely. I'm not going to tell people to turn off the radio and never listen to music again. But it's understanding when the negative talk comes up, if you're aware of it, you have the power to do something different about it. So,
but you're probably aware of this, but there's a scientific study that shows if you listen to music, if you don't like tap your feet or, keep with the rhythm, at least in your head or whatever, you're either going to enjoy what you're listening to by tapping your foot or you're going to get irritated. So it's going to be one of the two. You can't just be neutral when you're listening to music. You're either going to like it or you're going to be irritated. Why not turn on some music, have a good time, sing. And I've told people, I don't care if you can't sing, do it anyway.
Absolutely.
You're in your car, blare it out. Who cares if somebody looks at you and laughs? You probably will never see that person again in your life. So who cares?
Yeah. And you just brought them a moment of joy. So be happy about that.
Exactly. I mean, it brings me joy whenever I hear the kids in there singing and having a good time. It brings a joy to my heart because there's not enough positivity going on in this world. We've been bombarded with so much negativity, no real inspiration. It seems like everything's geared towards division, separating us, keeping people pissed off. And I just don't think that's what life should be about.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I agree. Gotta have, let's have more fun. Let's be more compassionate for each other and lift each other up. That's definitely what it should be about.
It's exactly. I mean, yes, you have to be aware of your environment. Of course you do. That's inevitable. If you're not, you might be enjoying the scenery, but you could walk off a cliff. So yeah, you have to be paying attention to to the scenery, but don't be to the point where you can't enjoy the things around you.
Well, and yeah, I mean, if you're like you can pay attention to the crap on the ground, or you can look up and see the landscape and the beauty. So, it's where you keep your focus. But yeah, you should be aware that there's poop on the ground so you don't walk into it. But
Exactly.
but yeah, like enjoy the view.
The only time I can say looking down's ever paid off for me was when I found $20 laying on the ground. So,
There you go.
well, we used to live right outside of Houston, and I miss my family and friends back there. Don't get me wrong, but just the beauty was not there.
Mm.
So I was visiting with my wife's friends and family at different times up here in the Austin area, and the one reoccurring thing that I got every time I came here was I got a sense of peace, and there was more nature. There was more bodies of water that you could enjoy. I mean, yeah, okay, I lived in Baytown. We were surrounded by water, but you couldn't go swimming in it. It was nasty water. But you come up here, you could literally jump in the lake here and drink the water right out of the lake. So the walking through the trails and the trees, I went out to go water my plants yesterday morning, and there's a rabbit running through my backyard. Well, that would have never happened to me living where I was, around Houston. That just doesn't go on around there. Here, I mean, our joy is to sit and watch the bird feeder and watch all the different birds that come up and get the bird seed, and or the other bird feeder where the hummingbirds come, watching the squirrels. Oh my God, we would sit there literally for hours watching the squirrels playing at the backyard or coming up to the sliding glass window and teasing the cats. I mean, it was hilarious.
It's awesome. But see, that's living in the present. That's just enjoying what's happening at the moment. That's awesome about the bunny, because we have some kind of weird infestation of rabbits up here in Denver, because like all the foxes are gone, all the coyotes are gone. Like there's just so many rabbits, it's ridiculous. So I see, pick a yard, there's at least 2 hanging out in the yard.
They're multiplying like rabbits.
They are. So hopefully we get some like birds of prey in here and some more owls, and I don't know, maybe snakes will start moving in. Who knows? There's so many rabbits.
The best thing I think that we ever did was when we got rid of cable.
Oh yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I do watch a lot of YouTube, but I'm not rushed to go watch my favorite TV show anymore.
Yeah. When my son was young and I was married, we left, and we were living in Europe for about 3 months, and we didn't watch the news. We didn't watch TV, and we just had the best time. Like everything was great. We had no clue what was going on in the world, but in our world where we were at that moment was great. And we got back, and we didn't have cable, but I would turn on like one of the news stations, one of the local news stations on my computer, and just streamed it in the morning. And we just found our days sucked because we watched the news in the morning, and that was the only change. And once we realized that, we turned off the news, we turned off the TV, and our days got better again. So, listening to all the negative that's out there, because let's be honest, that's pretty much what the news talks about, is everything negative. They don't really talk about too many good things. And so, turn off the negative, and you'll see all the positive around you.
Well, the sad thing is that we've got this weird narrative that I just don't remember it ever being this bad, where if you believe this side of the political aisle, then you're the enemy of people on this side of the political aisle. And I mean, it's constant every day. Everybody's always trying to push this, I'm right, you're wrong, and you deserve to be, you deserve to die, basically. That's sad. What happened to we don't have to always agree. Can't we just disagree about some things and maybe come to a compromise? I mean, that's what marriage is all about, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't work out the first time. The second time, I actually found somebody that I could compromise on things with. And there's so much of it. I didn't want that for my channel, even though, I'm very stern in my beliefs, but I don't think this is the place for it. We need something where we can bring people positivity. And so with that in mind, do you have a website that you could tell people about?
Yeah, the easiest website to go to is havingexpectations.com. And you can find information about the book, some other materials on there. You can, or actually you can find links to all the books and stuff like that. So,
and social media?
There's links to me from there.
Okay. So you're on Instagram and all that good stuff?
I do have an Instagram account. I don't really use it that much. I know I have Facebook and LinkedIn, and I've got them all. Whether I've posted anything in a while is completely different. So
I find better connections on LinkedIn than I do any of this other social media sites.
Yeah, LinkedIn is good. LinkedIn is it's more business related. It's a little more neutral. It's not so much of like, here's my belief and I'm shoving it down your face.
Thank you.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is much better for that point.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting people on there, and you surround yourself with positive people, positive things are going to happen in your life. And that's my belief, and I'm sticking to it.
It's good thing to stick to. I like it.
Well, Ben, this has been a pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation before we end it?
Yeah, the one thing I like people to recognize, and so we didn't talk too much about this, but I created a flow chart when I talked about solving the problem of being upset. I created a flow chart where it kind of takes people through those moments in time when they're upset and kind of guides them through to a moment of peace. And what I tell people in the world that we live in today, everybody says, chill out, stop being upset, be happy. But they don't really tell you how to do that. And to me, I'm like, I see getting upset as a trigger point in your life where you can actually do something about it. So as long as you recognize getting upset as an opportunity for growth and change to actually be happier, then you're a step ahead of everyone else who doesn't see it that way. And if you have that workflow that I have, which you can find on the website, then you'll be able to take those moments in time and actually switch them around for something good. And then you'll be upset less and you'll be happy more. And I think that's just I'm going to be the guy that says it's okay to get upset. Just don't stay there.
Yeah, that's true. There's nothing wrong. I mean, every once in a while you're going to get upset, but you stay in that mode. It's miserable, and you make the people around you miserable.
And it doesn't solve any problems.
Yeah. What does it solve? It just causes more problems. So, well, thank you for your time, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And anytime you'd like to come back and we can have another conversation, you're always welcome to. And so
Sounds
with
good.
that, I'd like to thank everybody that watches us and listens to us. And please come back for more great conversations like this. We'll catch you on the next one. Until then, peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network